Welcome to the place where we inspire growth through powerful stories of transformation. I am your host and artist, Jessica James, and this is the I Empower Podcast. Welcome back. And if you're new here, welcome. I'm so honored to be on your playlist today. Today is a little bit of a bittersweet day for me because we are actually on the last episode of season 4 of the I Empower Podcast. So if you haven't already, I highly recommend that after this episode, you take a little trip and visit all of the episodes. I think that you will find something for yourself in every single message. I honestly couldn't do this project without my guests and their powerful stories. And of course, I couldn't do it without you, the listeners. Those of you that tune in each week to listen to these powerful stories, you are part of what makes this all possible. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. And without further ado, I'm so excited to introduce to you this week's guest, Suzi Zobrist, a pelvic health therapist and womb healer who has dedicated her life to helping women and gender diverse people reclaim their bodies and discover their inner power. In this powerful episode, we discuss the importance of knowing our bodies, the transformative power of reclaiming our bodies, and Suzi's journey of becoming a mother. If you're looking for inspiration to take charge of your own life and well-being, you will not want to miss this episode. Let's listen in. I'm so excited to have you with me today, Suzi. I almost cannot even articulate into words like how excited I am to talk to you about what it is that you do, your story, how you got to be where you are. So I'm going to hand the mic over to you and have you introduce us because I know you can tell us better who you are and what it is that you do.
Thank you so much. It's so great to be here with you today. It's just really an honor. I'm really grateful. Thank you so much. Yeah, so well, kind of the way this all began is when I was 30 years old, I was really wanting to be a mama. And through that journey, I wasn't really getting pregnant. And through that journey kind of came around, I went to see a really trusted healing friend of mine. And she pretty much said to me, I see a troll holding your fallopian tubes. And I was like, what does that mean? And it kind of she's like, just follow your intuition. And it led me to a doc, and he must have thought I was really weird when I walked in and said, you need to check this out. Check me out. And it turned out that that I ended up having ovarian cancer.
Wow.
And it's like one of those things that when you're 30, there's a part of you that feels like you're invincible. And you never think that something like that will happen to you. And it took my life in a really different direction. And, there's more to this story, but I ended up having a radical hysterectomy. And so it was like this moment of like the worst thing possible that I could imagine at that time in my life was that I wouldn't be able to be a mother or get pregnant. But then when you go through something like that, it was like when I was recovering in the hospital. I was in a small town hospital, and I was actually in the labor and delivery ward. So I'm listening to women laboring, and I thought to myself, actually, the worst thing possible would be my life ending. Just really put things in perspective for me, and so it's just started this whole journey of healing for me. And, they talk a lot about the wounded healer, and, I kind of want to go the wounded healer, but there's something to it that happens, and I feel like that I was initiated into this work, and that part of that initiation was like the sacrifice, just to use these type of words, the sacrifice of my womb. And it brought me into this journey. And so needing to really learn how to heal myself and come back home into my womb space again. And so that led me, on this long journey, what we might say is pelvic care or pelvic health, needing to kind of like get in there, down there, all these words.
Right.
And so, yeah, I've been studying now, gosh, it's been more than 20 years that I've been on the journey. And it's like each piece, it's like you miss a piece, and there's, these different layers of your healing journey. And so I've done a lot of pelvic care work. I've done a lot of womb healing. And there was like this realization too that I was kind of like turned off, like below my belly button. And so that led me to do a sexological bodywork training and literally to like turn myself back on again. And I'm happy to talk to you more about what it means to be a somatic sex educator, also called a sexological body worker. And so the work that I offer in the world is a beautiful weaving of everything that I have learned. I have this deep desire inside of myself, like I want to gather the resources and then share them. And so I've been doing hands-on healing work on my own self and on other people for, more than 20 years now. It started with being a yoga teacher. And it's like my biggest passion is I want women and gender expansive folks to really know their bodies, their pelvis, their womb, their vulva, vagina, pussy, whatever you want to call it. We are not taught these things in our culture. There is so much shame and disconnect. And, even for me to be on this podcast and be saying those words, maybe you should throw anus in there too. These are not the things that we talk about. And so this is an area of our body that is literally life takes root in this place. And so we are so, in so many ways, so vulnerable and susceptible to energies and things in our environment. And we're told by doctors that it's normal. And I'm here to tell you, no, it's not. And the medical care, I'm not against medical. I've received a lot of medical care, but there are pieces that get missed on the journey. And so I sit with, as I said, women and gender diverse folk, and I share the teachings that I've gathered, and I support and I encourage, and I do a lot of hands-on healing work for the people that come to see me. Yeah, kind of a long answer to your question.
Oh,
but...
it's incredible. No, I'm over here. I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to remember everything that I want to ask you, because there's a lot of things running through my mind right now. I think this is just incredible. And I think before, when we actually got on the call, we did a pre-call, and we talked about, the things that I went a really long time not thinking about. And I think, you touched on culture. It's shameful. We don't talk about it. And so tapping into this space of the I Empower community and having the privilege to speak to an incredible, diverse group of people and learning. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, give me all the knowledge I want to know. But and then, feeling that energy from me, and how beautiful it is to be in touch with your body and to know your body and why that's important. I just think what you're doing is absolutely incredible. But I want to start from the beginning with my question. So you mentioned that ovarian cancer was what led you kind of down this path. I do want to highlight again, you mentioned the wounded teacher. There is definitely something about real life experiences and being able to connect with people on that level. I think it just gives us, it's almost kind of sad. I hate to say people need to experience trauma or tough situations in order to be able to educate others on that. But, for me, when I talk to somebody that has experienced something similar to what I've experienced, there's that different level of connection and understanding that you have when you talk to someone that has been through what you've been through, even if it's just tiny bits of it. So, when you found out you had cancer, you mentioned going to see someone that wasn't Western medicine, that was kind of, and so what was going through your mind when someone is telling you this? How was that for you?
I feel really fortunate, and as you're mentioning, it's because I've gone through what I've gone through. I mean, literally it felt to me at the time up against life or death. And I feel that in our life journey, we are going to come up against something that is going to rock our world, that's going to bring us to the edge. And for some, it might be a divorce, or it might be a car accident, or the loss of a child. For me, it was cancer. And it's we have to find our way through it. And it's our soul's journey in so many ways. And I feel there's medicine there for us. I'm not saying that it's easy. I'm not saying that we would want to sign up for that. Maybe we did sign up for it when we came in
right, yeah.
into this
I'll
body,
take that one. Oh
into
my
this
gosh.
life, And so then it's when we go through really deep, powerful stuff, it's like then we can meet people there in theirs. It's like if we can hold our own, then we can bring so much love and compassion to someone else's. And so I feel really fortunate in my life. I don't know. I feel like I never really sought out like woo-woo stuff. I mean, when I think back on my childhood and the way I was raised, I was like, I don't know, but this is where I feel like this is like a spirit-led life. For whatever reason, I have always had a connection to the nature or great spirit or God or whatever. I didn't grow up, in with a religious family or going to church, but I'll tell you, I have been drawn to alternative, and so I met this woman. I really tested her too. She was living up in Salt Spring, and I went to see her, and I said, I want to have a baby, and the way she works is like she gives you a drop of artemisia and puts her hands on you, and then she sees something, and she says, I see babies in your life. I didn't say that they were going to be mine, right? You need to plant roses outside your house. Okay, I planted roses. And, and then I told you, she said, I see a troll holding your fallopian tube. And it was one of those things where sometimes inside of ourselves, we hear a calling or we hear like an urging. Something's not right, right? I'm sure you have felt that before in your life. And it's like sometimes we have to just really heed that call and listen. And I know that in our modern medical, it's like we can get sent down the rabbit hole, if you will. It's so difficult. I felt fortunate that I went to my friend and she was able to direct me, and I'm, kind of like asked for what I wanted. And, the doc, he wanted to run me through the gamut. And I said, no, you just need to go in and look. And so, sure enough, they saw something in there. He pulled out his really nasty medical book, and I thought, this doesn't look good. I don't want to look at pictures of what this could be. And when I went in for the surgery, I went back to see my friend, and she said to me, you're going to receive good news and you're going to receive bad news. The good news is you're going to be all right. And the bad news is you need to prepare for it. And so when I went in and they found the cancer, it was just exploratory surgery. And then they went in and then they didn't like what they saw. So they opened me up and, just kind of, meanwhile, I'm like just passed out there,
Right.
And my husband was there when I came to in the hospital, and he said, baby, I've got bad news for you. You have ovarian cancer. And I said, my friend said I'm going to be all right. And so I just held that. And so sometimes I think on the healing journey, we need someone to tell us that you're going to be all right. Like sometimes when the doctors say you only have 6 months to live, I go, who are you to decide how much time I have left here in my life and on this planet? And I feel like then we take away people's hope when we say something like that. And I get that sometimes, we need to be realistic about the seriousness of something, but there's something more at work here, right? And it's our own spirit, it's our own will, it's our own journey. And sometimes it means that our life does end because that's our time. And I do truly believe that there at the end, and I haven't been there, but there's a part of me that believes that the healing that we needed on this life's journey will be there for us at the end. And so however long it might be, whether we're younger or older or an elder, that our journey, that I don't know, it's just everything's going to come to, it's going to come to completion. Things will make sense for us, right? And then off we go back to the spirit world.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. Everything, I'm like getting emotional here talking to you because everything that you're saying is just absolutely powerful and incredible. So, you experienced the loss. You said you had a total hysterectomy. So that is everything. That's your womb. That's your ovaries too, right? That's everything.
Yeah, it was the uterus, the uterine tubes, ovaries, cervix. And I actually had 2 surgeries. So the first one, they just removed left ovary and uterine tube because they knew I wanted to be a mother. And I had another, my yoga teacher at the time, she asked me, are you still trying to get pregnant? And this was soon after my first surgery. And I said, yes. And she said, remember your body, she's fragile. And I thought, I don't feel fragile. And then I was walking home and through the woods, it was like New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve of 2000. And I just was kind of ruminating on that. And I thought, well, if I get pregnant and have a child, what kind of mother will I be if I end up dying of cancer? And so it just really, again, another really pivotal moment in my life where I rethought things. And I went home that night. I was living in the woods in a yurt. And I had looked at adoption before, but I had nothing resonated for me. And I went online that night and I saw adoption in Guatemala. And I turned to my husband and I said, that's where our child is. Just again, one of those spirit-led moments. And so, it was New Year's and then the day after. And so I contacted this adoption agency on the 2nd of January. And I said, I'd like to apply to adopt. And I was told, well, paperwork takes a long time and it could be years before you have a child. And I said, just tell me what I need to do. And within less than a month, I had everything done, all my paperwork in to be considered for adoption in Guatemala. On the 2nd of February, a month later, I got a phone call that my daughter had been born. And 6 weeks later, this is like a few months after my cancer diagnosis, I'm living in Guatemala with my little baby daughter. I lived down there for almost 9 months while her adoption was, 2 big governments pushing papers back and forth. And we flew home when she was, I went down when she was 6 weeks old, and we flew home when she was 10 and a half months old. And we brought my daughter home, my little Guatemalan baby. And it was, I tell my daughter, her name is Solana. She goes by Soul now, S-O-L, Soul. I tell my daughter that she saved my life, that she was meant to be my child, but her life, she wasn't in the world yet. And so my life had to take a turn so that we would meet on the path so that we could be a family together. And she needed a mom and I wanted a child. And so our life came together. And, it's been a lot of challenge to raise a child in general.
Yeah.
Any parent out there will know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And but it was just like this miracle that I got to be a mother through all of it. And then it was soon after we got back from Guatemala that they found the cancer in my second ovary. And so I told the doc, I want to celebrate my daughter's first birthday and then I'll go in. And so we did. We celebrated Soul's birthday. And I had my radical hysterectomy on Valentine's Day in 2002. So my daughter was born 2001, and I had the hysterectomy in February of 2002. And so my daughter, she learned to walk in the hospital because she had never been away from me. She just only knew me during that whole time. And then it was like I was incapacitated. I was in the hospital. I had some complications, and my parents stepped in and kept her close to me, and she used that time to learn to walk. And so, just really, really precious times. But one of the things that you're not prepared for when your ovaries are removed is that you no longer have that hormonal support. And the doctors just slapped an estrogen patch on me and said, good luck. That's literally what he said to me. Good luck. And so then you're like up and down and wow. So intense to like be a mother of a young child and not getting a lot of sleep, and then to have like Jekyll and Hyde hormone shifts in it. There was moments when I thought, man, you should just lock me in a mental institute. I don't know how I'm going to get through this. And, you know, my husband was just, you know, he's my hero, just really there for the family and, you know, trying to help me and, you know, trying to be a really, really good mom to my daughter who really, really needed a lot of care. And man, it was like one of the darkest times of my life there. And but you get through it. You have to really advocate for yourself. You know, it's like that's kind of what sent me on the journey. It was like I am like floundering here and no one is helping me.
Yeah.
So I gotta find a team here. Where are you? Help me out. I'm desperate.
Help me out.
Yeah. But not everyone's life, you know, goes that way. And I feel fortunate that, you know, I just say great spirit, you know, put those people right in my path that could help me. And I said, yes, you know, and I showed up and I did the work and I'm here. It's like, you know, I had this moment many years later after kind of going through this really intense time where I realized I didn't die, but I was living my life in this like place of feeling like, oh man, you know, you're just so on the edge for so long. And I mean, we could say that's like a trauma response. And I realized I hadn't died. And so I needed to start living. And that was, again, another big turning point for me. You know, I was like, I gotta live my life.
Right. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So, wow, that's incredible and very, very personal. Thank you for sharing that with us. I'm sure that there is someone out there right now that's listening that can definitely connect with what you've been through, because that is it's a common procedure. It may not be specifically for cancer. I know that there's probably a lot of other things that would cause women to make that choice or be faced with that choice or decision to remove a very important part of our bodies. You know, you mentioned before that's where life is created. That is the core, the center, the root of our wellness. So what made you take these steps to say, okay, I know you mentioned that you were like, you know, feeling like, oh my gosh, something's got to give, or I'm going to not be here anymore because this is too much. This is crazy. Like, you know, dealing with the fluctuating of, you know, or the non-regulation of your hormones. And is it, and you could tell me if I'm wrong, because I'm still learning. This is a learning process for me. But when you take out, do you lose essential hormones because of that organ that creates that? Is that right? Can you tell me about that and what it looked like for you to start this process of healing?
So our ovaries are part of our endocrine system, and, you know, the different glands produce different hormones to keep everything in this beautiful flow. And the ovaries in particular, you know, produce estrogen and progesterone, and, you know, they produce other things as well. Right. There's a beautiful cocktail. And so when the ovaries are removed, then it's literally like an essential piece has been taken out of the system. So it's not even just the hormones, it's all of the nerve and blood and lymph flow and connection. And so there's a disconnect in the system. And so then when you've had a surgery and so then the tissue has to heal, and then there's all the adhesions or the scar tissue, and then all of the kind of the misconnections, as I was talking about, of the flow. And so there's like this numbing that can come in. And so then you've got like physical numbing, and then you've got emotional. And I really feel like, this is the piece too that I feel like gets missed a lot in our medical is we miss the emotional piece. We treat the symptoms, but we don't look underneath about what else is here that's causing it. And so, I ended up going on hormone replacement. It took me years to kind of find the kind of a combination of different hormonal support to kind of keep me stable. It's like mental clarity, emotional, stability. And, it was a pretty bumpy ride. And I know, I love that you spoke about that. We all make our own choices for our health. I would never tell someone else how to do their healing. It's your choice. I made my choice, what felt right for me at the time. And this is where it's nice to have options, and it's also good to have, full education, because sometimes I think that we might have a radical hysterectomy and we need it for various reasons, but we're not prepared for how we might feel on the aftermath, or how do we support ourselves hormonally, and then with the adhesions and the scar tissue, and just how we might be feeling. That's kind of, I feel like, the piece that gets missed. I see this a lot too with women who birth. It's like the most natural thing in the world is to bring a child into the world, but then it's like the aftercare, especially women who have had a cesarean, that piece gets missed. And it's like, it's so simple to just bring in the support that we need on all sides of the healing journey. So that's part of why I do the work I do too, is because there were a lot of things that got missed for me, and I felt really adrift out there, like this, it's like that feeling like, this doesn't feel right. Something's not right here.
Something's not right. Yeah. Well, and I think that's so important too, like trusting your intuition. And like you said, if you are feeling like something is off, or even probably like wanting more, like I'm sure some people, I don't want to say all, but I think there's at least a time I know in my life that I've been like, there has to be more, like this can't be it. And so, and then sitting down and analyzing what's happened in your life, and what can you do to, maybe there are things that need to be healed. So it's not just specifically people that have experienced cancer or surgeries like that. Healing the pelvis can be from trauma too, right? Am I speaking correctly when I say that?
Totally. I mean, I think about, being, maybe we'll just call it a female body, woman, gender diverse. We could say folks with a womb space or a vulva, however, whatever ways we want to describe, because there's quite a spectrum. Just to grow up in this world, and now I haven't lived in other countries, I live in the United States, and I've seen this now. My daughter is 21, and just witnessing her experiencing this. We live in a culture where there's so much suppression, and then it's like to walk alone at night is not safe. So there are so many ways that we make different choices in our lives to keep ourselves safe. And then many of us, I'm not going to say all, have experienced unwanted touch, or words, or attention towards our bodies because of our we could say our sex, female, gender's different, right? And so those things affect us, whether we realize it or not. And I love the book Cassandra Speaks by Elizabeth Lesser. Such a great book. And she spoke about in her book that so many of our stories are written by men. And we've got stories in that we could call them mythological stories or cultural stories, like Adam and Eve from the Bible. That, and I'm not meaning to offend anyone by mentioning this, but the point is that we have these stories that is showing, we'll just use the word woman in this case, because I think that's how Eve identified.
Yes.
that ate the forbidden fruit and caused the demise of the human race, right? And there's so many stories out there about how, and it's just like this way to kind of keep the female-bodied folk under. And it's like this slow, and I'm not against men. That's not at all what I'm saying. But we do have this patriarchy out there. And this is the piece that here it is, 2022, and we still have these stories and these myths that are still alive today. And so our young children are growing up learning them. And these stories that were written by men, it's like somehow we need to change the story and the dialogue that we're having.
Yes.
And she talks about that in her book, and it's just brilliant and really just I need to add
that to my list. Let me write that down.
Yes, Cassandra Speaks, Elizabeth Lesser, such a great book, and really gets you thinking about things that we I want to just say that we're immune to, that we don't notice, that we don't pay attention, because it's just the way that it is. And, I'm not living in other countries where there's even more suppression, repression, whatever word you want to use, right? But even the fact that a woman's right to choose was just taken away this year is like, really? I mean, this is crazy making. And again, I'm not like, anti, I might call myself radical in that, it's like, I want people to have the education that they need so they can make the choice that's right for them. I'm not going to tell you how to do it, but let's at least have all of the information here.
Oh gosh, yes. Oh, so much of that. I feel like education is just it's subpar. My daughter, it's just making me think. I had this conversation with my husband the other day. She's finishing up the DARE program in school. So, the drug resistance, blah, blah, blah. It's like I swear she's been doing it for like 8 weeks program on like how to not be on drugs. But I'm thinking back to last year when she had her sexual education class. It was a 1-day class.
Totally.
Not even a whole day, like however many hours. And I'm like, that is absolutely insane to me that we focus more on something like, not saying that there doesn't need to be some, education on drugs and yada, yada, but that's a whole nother rabbit hole that we could go down. But I'm just like, we grow up not even knowing our bodies. And I'm not 100% saying it's the school's responsibility, but I just remember, again, it probably was like a 2-hour-long class, if that, one time, and that's it. And we're supposed to cram everything about our bodies and how they work in that one class. I mean, and I think there might have been some health classes in high school, but again, just the education. Oh my gosh. So it's so important to know our bodies.
Well, this is where in our school education, we're talking about reproduction and how to avoid pregnancy or STDs. We never talk about female arousal, or that actually the whole reason why people come together to have sex is because it feels good. It's pleasure-based. It's not just to have children. And I know that it's a little bit tricky in the schools to talk about those things, but in our medical books, even the female arousal tissues, like the clitoris and all of the, I mean, even the clitoris, till just recently, no one really knew the complexity and the mass and the depth of this tissue.
And that's mind-blowing to me.
Mind-blowing. Again, I want to say it's 2022, people. How do we not know about the clitoris? And that it was literally removed from the medical books. The only thing that was there, of course, was the vagina and the reproductive organs. And that women, I mean, why would women want to experience pleasure? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
And I was just looking in the dictionary recently about the word vulva, vagina, even the word vagina. It's always penis and vagina, but vagina is actually, that's just part of the anatomy.
Yes.
It's like, so let's at least teach our children the proper anatomy.
Right.
And so then when you go online and you Google these words, it's like there's all of these, we could say, slang words for what a vagina, vulva is, and for penis. Your podcast is going to love this, me saying all these words, but this is how we normalize it, right? This is our body, folks.
Yeah.
This is what we're talking about. It's just like my arm. It's no different, right?
Yeah.
My head, whatever you want to say. And the list there, you can go and look it up yourself. Vulgar, derogatory. For the penis, it's all like celebratory. It's all like about power and conquest and, and so, again, just kind of looking at that. And even the word that, this word pussy, I love this word pussy, kind of took a resurgence there with Trump. But it's like, that's what a man would call another man who was a coward or a wimp or, and it's like, well, we again get to decide what kind of language we want to use that feels comfortable for us to describe our anatomy. And then here's that empowerment too, is get to know your anatomy. I mean, this is what I do all day long. First step is let me talk to you. Here, right here. Pelvis.
Oh, I love it.
Let's talk about it.
Yes.
Right? Because
let's do it.
The folks coming to me don't know. And it's okay. It's not something to be ashamed of. We weren't taught.
Yeah.
Because there's so much shame. It's like, let's just forget about it. Right? And then, we could talk about, sex.
Yeah.
I love to talk about it. Right? Because it's like, how do we learn? How do we go deeper with our sexuality? It's like we kind of come to it when we're young. We maybe have our first sexual experience when we're teenagers, when we're like, what do we know when we're teenagers?
I don't know. Oh my gosh.
Then we come into our relationships and we're growing as people. Some of us, I've been married 29 years. It's like, how do we keep growing in a partnership and in our intimacy and keeping things like hot and juicy through the journey of our life, from when we're young to when we get older, through raising children. There's so many tricky times. And I always say that our sexuality, that's yours. Mine is mine. We can choose to share it with another, but we want to keep our own fire stoked. Right? I just love this analogy. That if you let your fire go out, you're going to have to get 2 wet sticks and rub it together to get that spark going again. And it's hard work and it sucks. And you think, why am I doing this? I could just maybe never have sex again in my life. Right? But this is like the spark of your life right there. It's literally the spark of your creation. It's how, people say, I could just do without it. Well, you're missing out. I'm not saying between you and another. I'm saying between you and you. I'm just talking about your own pleasure, not even sexual pleasure. Like your life force, your spark, your drive, your, everything that lights you up is held here, right? So you got to get that fire going, and then you have to tend it. Because if you had a fire in your home, you would have to put wood on the fire or it's going to go out. And so you got to put wood on your fire. And you do this by doing things in your life that bring you pleasure. Again, it doesn't have to be sexual pleasure, but it's like, what do you love? Do those things. Take care of yourself. Tend your own fire. And then that's where our health is and our vitality is and where our turn on is. And then, of course, we can choose to share it with another, right? If we want to. We're not dependent on another. But that's what's not taught in school, right?
No, never. Oh my gosh. I feel like I had the same conversation with a guest that I had on season 1 of the podcast who is a sexual educator. And we talked about like how people's heads would probably explode. The safest form of sex would be sex with yourself. And like we should teach that to young children because you can't get sick, like you can't get an STD or STI from that. But also there's just so much more, like you're saying, it's a lot deeper than that. It's more of a connection with yourself and exploring yourself and then knowing your boundaries and your safe spaces and why it's important that we learn that from a young age. Like you're saying, it's part of our nature.
It's how we got here. I mean, hello. That's how we were created, is through the sexual act. 2 humans coming together. It's like there was a spark that happened and life took root there in the womb. And you were born out of a vagina. Sorry to say. I mean, not everyone, but but yes. And so, again, it's like this, there's a lot of mystery. And so I think that that's part of why it gets shrouded, is because there's so many things that we don't understand. And there is a power. I just want to say, there is a power in the female body. I'm not saying there isn't in a male body. They have their own power. It's different. But when you don't have it or you don't understand it, then maybe it's just better to just, put it over here,
I don't want to think about it. If I put it over here.
Yeah, let's just suppress it over here because it's it's powerful.
Yeah. I think
even
it's so
just
important too to say that, like just to hear it as a woman that we are powerful.
Well, just thinking about like menstrual cycle and how again it's like dirty and another shameful place, and let's just stick a tampon in and plug it up and just like power on with our life, forget about being cyclical beings. And, you must, be, PMSing and all of the negative things that we all are around all of the time. And yet I love that this is our connection to the nature. It's like the sun rises every day, travels through the sky and sets. The moon goes through its cycle. We go through the different seasons. That is what is happening inside this body, wherever we are. I mean, I still feel the moon cycle within me, even though I'm not menstruating anymore. That's our spiritual practice. That's what connects us to the earth and to the elements. That's what, that's it right there. And when we just shove it aside and we don't kind of like be in tune with it, it's like every day in our cyclical life, we're going to be in a different, it's like even just the way the tides move. I was just on the beaches of Costa Rica, and it's like those tides are coming in and going out, and every day it's different, and the waves are higher and lower, and the moon is changing, and it's like everything is connected, and our bodies are part of that. And so the more that we can like look to the elements, look to the nature, to the land, and just be in flow with it, our life, I just feel like our life is just easier that way, right? But again, we're not taught this. And so it's never too late.
Yeah. It's funny that you're mentioning that, because I want to say a friend of mine talked about exploring her cycle and the connection with, like, she used the word moon cycle and like how you, I don't know, again, like you would know maybe I don't know, and like almost like a celebration of that, moment each month and everything. And I just think it's so interesting that we have the power to kind of like, flip that paradigm of like, it's a bad thing. Oh, like you mentioned, she's PMSing and it's the cycle. It's a dirty, like, bad thing, and changing it to something that should be celebrated. It's like you mentioned, it's part of nature. I just think about, young Jessica when she first got her period and as a child, and we're excited. We're on it and tell our friends. And then somewhere along the way, we lose that. But there's something to be celebrated with our cycles. Am I right?
Totally. I mean, I just think about, it's like, I love this, like, journeying through the seasons. And so it's like the menstrual time is like your inner winter time. And it's like, that's what we're coming into now in our season here in the, in the North America. And we're not in it yet, but we're coming into it. And it's that time then to rest and rejuvenate, and to dream. And it's like the portal opens and the downloads come in, and you have connection to spirit and to your wisdom, and you get to release. That's what the land is doing right now, releasing the things that you don't need to carry with you. It's like just your dreams and your creations that didn't take root during this cycle, you let them go. And it's this beautiful cleansing, right? And so this is a time where you need to slow down and rest and take care. And then you come out of the menstrual time and you start to move into the spring. And in our, lot bigger cycle here, we're a little ways away from springtime, but there's a feeling that happens, that upliftment, and it's like that spark, the new life, the new growth, and there's like an energy that starts to rise through the body, and you feel you have more energy. And it's like the the moon starting to move towards full. So like the winter time is like the new moon. We're in the new moon time right now, right? We're in that inner winter new moon time, the dark time. And then the moon starts to fill and the spark starts to rise. And then we come up into the summertime. It's like that full moon and that bright light, and it's like ovulation, and we're like out in the world and feeling good and sexy and plump and fertile and vital. And we're like, I could do anything. Right. And then you're in this beautiful time, and then you're in around to the autumn, and things start to wane a little bit, and your energy shifts, and you start to see things a little bit more clearly. There's things that there's like a clarity that comes in, and maybe there's a little bit of irritation. You're like, man, it's like time to like those leaves, like time to like slough off the things you don't need. But it's also harvest time. Take what you learn, those beautiful fruits, and the bounty, and then in you go again. And so when we look at it that way, and we can flow with our life that way, instead of, it's like, again, this is kind of like that masculine that just wants us to just plow through our days. In a male hormonal cycle, they have high testosterone in the morning, and then it wanes in the evening and then replenishes. So they have a 24-hour cycle. And so that means they can get up in the morning and go and do their workout and, all the things. Yeah. But a female body is we'll just call it a 30-day cycle. We'll just kind of follow that moon.
Yeah.
And so it's a different rhythm. And so we have to just remember that. And the more that we can embrace who we are and the way our body moves, the easier it is, right? And we can ask for support too. We can let our partners know, our children know that coming into our bleeding time, and you're going to need a little bit more rest, a little more time to more stillness, right?
I do tell my husband when I can feel it. I used to really pay attention to like when it was, and I knew when it was coming back. And now I'm a little bit more in tune to my body, so I don't so much pay attention as to the date as I do like the feelings that I'm getting. I'm like, just need a little extra patience with me this coming up week. So totally. And he's good. So I think it's good, like you said, to have that support. And if you're with someone who menstruates, just be that support system that we need sometimes. But
it's really just about that deeper understanding too, that it's it's not yeah, it's like you're not on the rag, or, again, all these terms that
Yeah.
it's like, this is just that this is nature. The animals also have a season. If you look at, again, if we look to the nature, the birds are not laying eggs all year long. In the springtime, they come together and the song changes and they make a nest together and they tend to their young. Same, I live out here on an island, so deer, it's like they have a mating season, they have a breeding and a caring for their young season. And I don't know why we get so disconnected from these things. It's like right in front of us. It's right there, right?
I blame industrialization. Like it's just we just get further and further away from nature, and it's But you can always be like, okay, I want to change. And so if someone's listening to this and they're like, you know what, I love it, everything you guys are talking about, I want more of that. What would be advice that you would give to somebody who, maybe feel, and we can talk about specifically, with pelvic healing or even just, overall wellness and life change. Like what would be your advice and the steps that you would recommend for someone to take initially?
Well, I feel like you are your own healer. And so what we've been saying over and over again is like, pay attention and listen to your own wisdom that's held within you, your own inner urgings. And sometimes we get so busy, we get so disconnected, and we're up in our head. And so if we can learn to slow down, and maybe the heart is a place to listen, or maybe the womb space. And you can just take a moment and take a pause and just allow yourself to be there. And I know that sometimes for people that feels hard for them. They don't want to fall apart, or it feels emotional. And I think about, I love this analogy of that when we've gone through really challenging moments in our life and we carry trauma, it's like our body, holds every experience that we've ever had. And this might kind of seem funny, but when you have to go pee, you don't just pee everywhere. You take yourself to an appropriate time and place, and you take care of your business. And so I kind of use this tongue in cheek, but it's like when we have really emotional experiences that we're trying to navigate, we can go in. We get to decide how deep we go. No one's pressuring us or pushing us. Go at your pace. But ignoring it isn't going to make it go away. That you're going to have to go in. And so you can go in a little bit. And I feel like some of the tools that are most helpful is to slow down, pay attention, like go to one of these wisdom centers, bring your breath there, allow yourself to feel. You can feel a little bit. If that's enough, then that's good. You can keep going deeper. And if you feel like you want to go a little bit further, then it's kind of like if you have to pee, then take yourself to an appropriate time and place so that you can go deeper into that. I feel like that this is where, so we can do all of our own healing on our own. Everything that we need is within us. Sometimes, because we are human beings and we're social creatures, we need someone there to walk with us. I know I did. Not for all the parts, certain parts. It's like when I needed to go into the parts that felt scary, unknown, vulnerable, like I might lose it here, then I would bring in someone, right? And I had different body workers, different practitioners. And then there's something really magical that happens when two spirits come together. We can go deeper. There's a safety, there's a witness, you're not alone. And so that can be helpful too. So just to recap is like, slow down, be present, bring your breath into your body so that you can feel. The wisdom is there, how you need to proceed, what's next for you, it's there. There are different it's like get to know yourself. You know, we talked about learn your anatomy, touch yourself, right? Doesn't have to be sexual touch, just touch yourself. Know your body in that way. And if there are some, if you're ready to make some changes, that maybe you've been holding a lot of pain, and pain might be physical pain, emotional pain. Oftentimes I feel like that emotional pain shows up as symptoms in our body. Then, find someone to help support you. Sometimes we don't know who that person is. It might be a doctor, it might be a physical therapist, it might be alternative medicine person, but, just finding someone that you feel a resonance with, that you feel safe with, that you feel like you can open up with. And then, I don't know, I just say, I want to just say, go all in. That's what I want to say. It's not going to be one sesh, sorry to say.
Right.
Our healing journey is not one massage or one body work, and someone is not going to fix you. That's your work. But they can be there with you, and they can minister to your body, and they can remind you of the medicine that you carry, the power of you, that you can do it, and walk with you through it, right? Because there's just so many moments where we feel so lost and we feel confused, and we just need to be able to share and express. And so there's something really beautiful about sharing the journey with another, right?
Yeah.
As you said too, especially someone who maybe can relate in some way.
Yes, most definitely. Oh my gosh. And of course, if anyone is interested in having Suzi be that guy, that partnership in their healing process, how would they reach out to you? Instagram, website? Tell me how we get connected with you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yes.
My Instagram is Root Medicine. Yeah, ROOT medicine, Root Medicine.
Okay.
And
awesome.
And I am pretty new to the social media world, which is kind of funny because I just been here doing my practice in my small community. I live on a little island, and I just really got this strong calling recently. It's like, girl, you got to share your medicine.
Yeah.
This, like, what you were offering is so needed. And so just started posting on Instagram, Root Medicine. I have my website, which is Root Medicine Healing. And I work with folks online. I have a beautiful offering coming soon. It's going to be Pussy School. I'm going to just teach you everything that you need to know all about your anatomy, embodiment practices, and just hands-on techniques and everything that I've learned over all of these years. I'm just going to put it together in a little school. And then the other thing that I offer is immersive experiences. I have a lot of folk that travel to me on Orcas, and we do a multi-day hands-on bodywork ceremony. And man, it's so powerful.
Oh my gosh, I cannot even begin to imagine.
We do like 5 hours a day for multiple days, and the healing that I witness is
incredible.
I feel emotional thinking about it, know. And so we just calm, and everything is like it's just unique to what that person needs. And man, we go deep. Whew, we're all crying at the end.
I can feel it.
Yeah, it's just beautiful.
Oh my gosh.
And so I do a lot of that. A lot of hands-on healing work, because
awesome.
I feel like that's I can teach you how to heal, how to touch your own self. So I said the healing is within you, but sometimes we need some resources and some tools, and I can teach you all of that, and sometimes we need someone just to
be there. It's incredible. And I will make sure that I link all of your social media and website in the show notes. So if you guys want to check her out and give her a follow, you can do that, but also reach out if you are curious. If you're curious, just reach out to her. I do have one question that I like to ask all of my guests. So if you're ready, we will wrap the show up with that question. Suzi, we like to talk about power on the podcast and not thinking of that as a bad thing. how would you describe, or what would you think of the type of power is that you try to step into every day?
Man, well, every morning before the first light, I take a big glass of water and I step outside and I stand to the east. And I feel my feet on the earth. I feel the nature moving around me. Each day is different. The weather is different. And I've got this beautiful day unfolding in front of me. And there I am, me, standing in my power and in my strength, ready to serve and to be a good person and to live a good life. And so I take a moment and I put a blessing upon my water, and I bless my life. I give thanks for this day. And that's really where I feel that I come into my power every day. And I bless myself with the beauty and the nature and my own prayers. And then have a little drink of that water. I've got it here with me here.
Yeah.
I've got my big jug of water that I get to drink off of all day. And then I walk with my prayer. And then at the end of the day, I take another moment and I just sit outside in the nature and watching the sunset and the beauty and the color, and sometimes it's lots of gray. And it gives me a moment to reflect on my beautiful life and the things that I did and what worked and what didn't and what I might need to release, and just giving my gratitude. And there's just something about this. I've been doing it now, I don't know, 12 years or so. There's something about this that just helps remind me every day of who I am. And that's me stepping into my power. And then, of course, I get to walk with it every day and just do my good work. And, a lot of people ask me, do you get tired from all of the work you do? I go, no way. I feel so energized to be able to listen, be witness to people's stories and to hear them and to help in some way. But it's because of the way that I start and end my day. That gives me, it's like I have all of the nature and the elements held within me, keeping me strong. Yeah. So thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I honestly could sit and listen to you talk all day. It's incredible. You're just so full of knowledge and empowerment, and just, oh my gosh, I can't wait for everyone to hear this episode. Thank you so much, Suzi, for being with us today.
So great to talk with you too. Thank you so much.
Thank you all so much for supporting us with your listens today. I want to thank my guests again so much for sharing their powerful story of transformation with us. If you're interested in connecting with them or checking out the services that they have to offer, I have linked all of their information in the show notes below for you. If you personally have felt connected to the story and you would like to check out the art that goes along with it and purchase your limited edition print copy as your own reminder to step into your power, you can do so on our website at iempower.club. You can also follow us on all the socials, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at iempowerclub, YouTube at Jessica James. If you liked this episode and found value in it, please let us know by giving us a like and sharing us with a friend. Again, I highly encourage you to take this opportunity to listen back through all of the episodes of the I Empower podcast, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss next season of I Empower. See you then.